Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Well, Kevin Neary is the former managing director of Gamestop Ireland, and he has had a long association with the famous Chapters bookstore in Dublin. When the opportunity arose for Kevin to purchase the bookstore, it signalled his transition from a Game Boy entrepreneur to a bookworm tycoon, and he joins us now to tell us his story. Kevin, we'll be discussing your decision to join forces with Michael Finucane to purchase the Chapters bookstore. But first, I'd like to get an insight into your own background.
Thank you, Karl. My pleasure. Sure, no problem. My career goes back. I started in the world of retail. God, it was the early 90s. I started off with a part-time job actually in Chapters as a student. And that's where I suppose I cut my retail teeth. And it was also around then that I decided that at some point in the future, I would like to actually open and run my own business. So I decided to go to university, did a very broad-based business course in the College of Marketing and Design in Manchester Square. And while I was there, I was looking for a business opportunity. And it wasn't until I was in America in 1993, the summer of 93, that I came across a cousin of mine who was his little 3-year-old, and he was just absolutely crazy about video games and the new Sega Genesis, as it was called in America. We would have known it in Ireland as the Sega Mega Drive. So I was fascinated by how excited he was by the new Sega product and this whole video game sector, which was starting to emerge in the early 90s. So I did a bit more research when I was in New York and New Jersey, and then I came home and I did another 6 months research, and I felt that there was an opportunity in this new emerging category of video games. What I did at the time, where the concept was I had learned how the trade-in model of trading in books had worked in Chapters bookstore. So I then wondered, could I apply that model to video gaming? And the answer was that yes, I could. And from there, I was joined by my best friend, one of my best friends growing up, Michael Finucane, and we set up what was known as Games World in the early days. And we started off our first Games World store in the back of Chapters in Middle Abbey Street.
So talk to us about the success of Games World at the time.
Sure. So we started off in the back of the bookshop. Very quickly, we started to get traction. And within 12 months, we moved around the corner to Liffey Street, just off the Halfpenny Bridge in Dublin. And there we had our own storefront for the first time. So we opened up there, and at the start, we didn't have enough money to open up the whole shop. So we opened up half the shop, and every few weeks when we got a little bit more money, we'd open it up a bit more and a bit more. But very quickly, within a couple of weeks, couple of months, we knew we were onto something here, that the video game industry was growing and that we had an offering that appealed to the public. So around the same time, Sony PlayStation launched in Ireland for the first time. And with the growth of PlayStation and later on the growth of Microsoft Xbox, we were able to grow the category of video gaming in Ireland. And very quickly, we opened up a second store in Waterford, then we moved to Cork, Kilkenny, and Galway, and then we started to open up more shops around the country. So by 2003, we had 15 shops around the country under the Games World brand. And at that point, we were approached by a multinational retailer called Gamestop, who were interested in acquiring part of our business and growing the business with us throughout Ireland and into the UK.
You went on then to become the managing director of Gamestop Ireland.
It was a fantastic time, and I must say they were fantastic to work with. They were the biggest video game retailer in the world. I think they had, at the time, 2,000 shops in America and a turnover of $2 billion. And they loved what we were doing in Ireland in terms of innovation. We were trying different ideas, testing different things. And many of the ideas that we came up with were brought back to the US and were rolled out across their larger store footprint and chain in the US. Unfortunately, over time then the industry started to change somewhat as the model migrated to an online model, and this is a challenge that we have seen across other industries over many years.
And were you surprised to hear that GameStop was actually now planning to leave the Irish market?
Probably been in the offing for a couple of years. The GameStop board in the US have been trying many different things to reinvent the model and to reinvigorate their business model. But unfortunately, up to this point, they hadn't found a solution. They have now new board members and new investors in the US who have decided that they're going to take the business down a path which will be predominantly US-based and more focused on a US-based consumer. So no, I wasn't surprised. And to be fair to GameStop, they have sustained the business model in Ireland for a number of years when it has been challenged. So they do deserve credit for that.
From your insights into the retail sector overall, Kevin, and having spent many years in it, do you expect that many more international retailers will be leaving the Irish market in the years ahead?
I think to some extent, yes. I think there was an over-proliferation of international retailers who came to Ireland over the last 20 or 30 years. And there was a land rush there for retail opportunities, retail outlets for many years. That has slowed down with online, but it's starting to change a little bit again. That a lot of the multiples are moving aside, making way for new and innovative indigenous retailers. So I think there's going to be an opportunity. We will see a lot of Irish-owned, Irish-developed retail developing over the next 10 years, which could be really interesting and exciting as well.
You recently joined forces with a former colleague to purchase the famous Chapters bookstore in Dublin. So was the decision to purchase Chapters purely based on an emotional connection?
It was an important part of it because we were passionate about it. We knew the business, we knew the strength of the brand. And again, we have a belief that Dublin and Ireland need strong independent retailers and book retailers to satisfy the demand, give people value for money and provide a wide range of books for people. So there was an emotional connection, but equally there's a business connection because we see an opportunity within the growth of the Chapters brand in a couple of areas. So first and foremost, physical book sales have been rising for the last 5 or 6 years worldwide. That Kindle has peaked, Kindle has actually gone into decline. We believe there's a place for physical book and Kindle for book readers throughout the world. We believe a lot of people will use both physical books and Kindle depending on their circumstances at the time when they want to read.
And how important was it both for yourself and Mick to resist the temptation to implement drastic changes in the store and instead to honour the tradition and character of Chapters?
We went into the business extremely respectful of the brand, of the knowledge from the staff who we've retained, from the customers, etc. So Chapters has worked and been successful in independent for 40 years. There's a model, a tried and trusted model there, and we did not want to go in and tamper with that, thinking we were cleverer than other people. But what we have done is we've observed areas where we could improve certain elements of the offering. So what we've done is we've put better systems and controls in, which are better information, which allow us to make better decisions on buying and customer buying patterns. We've also developed a transactional e-commerce website where for the first time ever, customers can now buy books from Chapters' massive range of books online anywhere in the world. Now, at the moment, we've only got our new and bargain books available, and very soon we're going to develop an offering whereby we will put our full range of second-hand books available again worldwide on the web. And to date, the growth of the e-commerce website has been fantastic. It's been very successful, and we see that continuing in tandem with growing the physical sales in the store itself.
Barnes & Noble, a very large bookseller in the US, has put a lot of Starbucks cafes into their bookstores. What are your thoughts on that concept for Ireland?
And indeed, ourselves, within the last week, have opened up an offering in partnership with Arboretum, where many people down the southeast will be very familiar with Arboretum Garden Centre in Loughlin Bridge in Carlow. So they have taken the first floor on the Chapters bookshop in Parnell Street. It's a unit of 14,000 square feet, and they've put in a 60-seat cafe along with an offering of home and garden products, which is a fantastic innovation for the Irish retail scene. So people can now come in, buy a book, have a coffee and browse for home and garden products in a beautiful environment.
Let's now talk about the experience. So what type of a culture are you looking to create when it comes to experiential retail within Chapters?
Okay, within the Chapters framework, we like to offer people a reasonably quiet, peaceful time where they can spend as much time as they want in an unhurried environment to browse a massive selection of books available. So very often people will come in that might spend 3 or 4 hours in a store. We afford them that opportunity. We provide seating, and now we've got the opportunity to provide them with a coffee cup facility. So that's quite important to us.
And Kevin, the growth of TikTok, of course, one of the benefits that have come out of that from a book's perspective is the emergence of BookTok. Talk to us about BookTok and the impact that it's having on bookstores like yourselves.
It's having a significant change. It's reintroducing a younger audience to reading books. And where it's originated from is we have user-generated content, i.e. just people who like books, young people who like books are reading books, then doing a review on TikTok, and I suppose the category or subcategory is called BookTok, and then they're sharing that on their communities with their friends, and then the people who watch them, who follow them, are coming in looking for those specific books, and there's even like a BookTok chart, and bookstores have had to, I suppose, respond to this drive, this new energy within the sector, and now sections called BookTok that reflect the BookTok charts of books reviewed by the more famous or the more well-known BookTokkers.
How does your approach to running a bookstore differ in any material way from that of managing a brand like Gamestop here in Ireland?
The likes of Gamestop, it was a multi-site retail offering, and it was more fast-paced. With the book industry, it's bigger units in one location at the moment, and I suppose it's a slower, more considerate pace. That what we look to do is to provide massive range, because books have a long shelf life and will sell for many, many years, whereas video games had a shorter shelf life. They'd sell in big bursts in the short term, and then they would tail out quite quickly.
Kevin, what about in-store events? How important are they going to be, let's say, having authors drop by to meet with readers?
Hugely important. People love to have the opportunity to meet their favourite authors, to have their books signed, to sometimes have their authors do a reading of a chapter or a few pages from their books, and to spend time and chat is something that's very important to us. And now that we've got the capability with the cafe area, it's something we will be doing at a far greater scale.
And in your opinion, what are the main challenges facing bookstores at present, and how can they be overcome?
I suppose the main challenges around bookstores at the moment is just to increase the footfall in locations, because there's still a little bit of an overhang from COVID. People are working from home a little bit more, so they're not out and about shopping in city centres to the same degree that they were. But equally what we're seeing is a big increase in tourist numbers. The more and more tourists are visiting city centres, and that their footfall from tourists is growing significantly. And we would expect to see that continue.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Kevin Neary, entrepreneur and co-owner of Chapters Bookstore, and I'm sure that this venture will be a page-turner filled with success.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.